Hi, Jaclyn.
Hi.
Um, so I want to talk to you about nutrition because that's one of the big things that all of us struggle with in our fitness journey. And one of the things that I love about you is that you're very self-aware of what works for you and what's worked for you and what hasn't.
Yep.
So maybe you could kind of share with you, and nutrition's always changing, like what you found out, maybe works for you, doesn't work for you, and how you've adjusted, for yourself.
Yeah, nutrition is so important. I mean, I think everybody's probably heard the old adage that, abs are made in the kitchen. And so if you are really trying to take care of your body, you can't ignore what you eat. And I think most women know that, long runs and aggressive spin sessions don't give you carte blanche to raid the fridge. So, of course, I went through that struggle when I was in college, and when I was running a lot, I thought, oh, I can eat, I can carbo load the night before a race, which is ridiculous. The night before a race doesn't really affect much of your race anyway, or your long run. It's the days leading up to it and the quality of food that you're eating. So there was a little bit of weight fluctuation I had around college and grad school, and I think, moving to New York was hard for me because the culture here is so busy. And I was teaching 6 cycling classes a week. I was working, as an assistant at a magazine when I started. And then I also worked weekends at a boutique just to make extra money. So the last thing I wanted to do was cook or, take on anything like that. I wanted to be easy. So I was ordering out a lot. You can get anything you want at any time in New York. And a lot of times you get to the point where you're so hungry, you don't care about the quality of what you're eating. So that happened early on in my New York life. And then I realized it just didn't make me feel good. Eating crappy takeout food that you have no control over, even something that's healthy, you don't know the amount of oil that they're putting into it, the way that they're cooking it. So I started to care a little bit more and to start to experiment with cooking. And then once I got into CrossFit, the paleo culture is so strong there that it was something that I was interested in. And I didn't do it full on 100% for very long, but I did experiment with it. And who doesn't love the taste of bacon? Like, I loved meat, I loved red meat. I thought it was a really fun diet. And so I stuck with that for a little bit. But again, like, I didn't really notice anything exceptionally great from it for me. So I actually broke my ankle during a Spartan race 2 or 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And I kind of panicked because for somebody who was so active, the thought of not being able to even walk for at least 4 months, like, totally freaked me out. And so I thought, okay, my body's going to go to shit. Sorry, can I say shit?
You can say shit.
My body's going to go to shit. And I thought, like, what can I do to stay in control of this situation? So I was going to Equinox and I was doing pull ups with a cast on my leg. I hired a trainer because I couldn't even, like, change a weight plate because you need to walk to do that. So I hired a trainer and we did a lot of upper body stuff. But still, like, I wasn't burning any calories. I didn't feel good. I didn't have energy. And I decided, okay, this is a really good opportunity for me to really learn about food and to learn about cooking and what I'm putting in my body. And I can use the time that I'm not going to the gym to do that. So I started reading just about different styles of eating, just about different ways to cook. And the easiest way to cook, especially if you're in a New York City apartment, is vegan. I mean, you don't have, like, you can throw some vegetables in the oven. The temperature setting doesn't have to be so exact. So I started cooking vegan, and my now husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, he didn't really ask what I was cooking. I didn't tell him I was cooking vegan because I didn't want it to freak him out, because it is kind of a polarizing way to eat, I think. But he loved it. And, a couple of weeks into it, I told him that's the way that I was cooking. And still at the time, I was eating a little bit of meat. I was certainly not 100% vegan. But both of us felt really great. I did not gain any weight while I was not able to run for 7 months while my leg was broken. I couldn't do CrossFit for a full year. So
Wow.
I, we eventually both really educated ourselves on vegetarianism and the way that certain food is procured. And I mean, at the end of the day, we watched a lot of documentaries, we read a lot of things, and I think that we both decided for health reasons, for ethical reasons, and for environmental reasons that being vegetarian really worked for us. And I think I'm really lucky that he likes to eat the same way because we cook together and it's so easy. The thought of me coming home from work and having to cook a separate meal would be a lot more difficult to commit to, for sure. So we both have been full vegetarian for, let's say, about a year and a half. So we eat no meat, we eat no fish, and that's a question. It's funny. A lot of people, when we say we're vegetarian, they say, "Oh, but you eat fish." No, no, no fish. And I eat far less dairy than he does. It's just most people have a lactose sensitivity, just something that you develop when you stop, breastfeeding and when you're not a baby. And I think once you cut it out of your diet, you tend to be a little bit more sensitive to it. So I love real ice cream. I'll eat it every now and then. We cook eggs once a weekend, maybe, and we make pizza on Friday nights usually, and then that we make with cheese. But otherwise, we cook vegan, and if there's a vegan option, I try to eat it. It allows us to eat a lot of volume, so you never feel deprived. I think with a lot of other diets or a lot of other styles of eating, you really have to portion things out. So you have to portion out your red meat, you have to portion out, your carbs, and with vegan, it doesn't necessarily mean that everything is healthy. You still have to pay attention to, packaged and processed foods because those still exist. But it's been a really interesting, uh, moment for us just to kind of be a lot more aware about what we're putting into our body. And I think that we don't count calories. Personally, I don't think that that's the smartest way to go about figuring out what you're eating and, how hard you're working and how those two interact. I think you got to worry about sugar. And so that's something we've been a lot more aware about. And, some of the saturated fat stuff. But for the most part, we have a ton of energy. We're always full. I just feel like, our skin is great, our hair is great, like all of those things that you hear. And it's just because you're putting so many minerals and vitamins in your body. And a lot of things that people ask us too is, how do you get your protein? And most people, even on a vegetarian or a vegan diet, meet the protein needs throughout the day. It's not everything you're eating is a complete protein with all the amino acids. So you do have to make sure that you're pairing some things together that give you all of those things. But it doesn't even necessarily have to be in the same meal. If you get, some at dinner and then some at lunch, and together those make the complete proteins, I think that that's fine. And so, the protein thing scares some people away. Feeling limited scares some people away from it. And it's not, again, like it's definitely not a diet that's for everybody. There are a lot of medical reasons that people wouldn't want to do this, and just personal reasons too. But it works really well for us. And even with me enjoying the lifting heavy and, the fast, powerful type of exercise, I feel totally, totally content with all of that. And then like leaving room on a Friday night to make a pizza and every now and then have some ice cream, like you still feel satisfied with that sweet tooth and that cheat meal, I guess if you want to call it that. But yeah, it's worked for us, and I think it's something that I don't ever see myself kind of going back the other way.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
The fact that you have a partner in crime or in health, I should
Definitely.
say,
And
to
you know
go on
what?
the
It's
same
funny,
page.
like living in New York, you have so many, and LA too, you have so many options
Yeah.
for eating healthy and eating this way. And it's really cool to watch all of the organic, vegan, vegetarian shops pop up because it's exciting to see that more and more people are interested in that sort of thing and that there are more options to eat like that. But I travel a lot for work and I get stuck. I will tell you a funny story. I went to Alaska on a work trip a couple of weeks ago, and we spent the final day. They said, "Okay, go out and explore Denali National Park on your own, and we're going to give you box lunches so that you have something to eat." So my box lunch said that I was getting a vegan Mediterranean wrap, and I didn't look at it until I was ready to eat. And I opened it up, and it was a romaine leaf that wrapped up spinach leaves, red onion, and one cucumber.
Wow.
Oh, so I was like, either they don't understand all of the things that a vegetarian can eat, or they just don't care. But it's funny. I mean, I went to a wedding in Atlanta and I told them that I was vegetarian when they asked me if I wanted lobster or steak, and um, they came back with two biscuits, mashed potatoes, and a scoop of sun-dried tomatoes, which you should never just eat alone. That's very bizarre. So I understand, that eating this way is definitely more complicated for people in certain geographical areas where it's just not that available, and you have to really want it. But I think that one of the issues that bums me out about eating vegan or vegetarian is that people look at it as a black and white issue, and they either need to be 100% vegan or they just can't do it at all. So I don't really think that that's the case. I think if more people ate more that way, they would feel better. And, no one says like you have to sign on a dotted line to eat 100% vegan. If you want to eat weekday vegan, do that. And then, be a little bit more loose with what you're eating on the weekend, or vegetarian too. Maybe you start just eliminating meat, or maybe you have one day where you don't eat meat. I think that it can be something that people sort of experiment with and see if they like it. But I think what scares people away from that is just the thought of having to just give up everything they know and 100% cold turkey eat vegetables. And so, I think we have a ways to go on educating people about what's really in their food, and the power that you have over those decisions. And once you really start to notice it, whether you decide to go vegetarian or just to cut out processed sugar and whatever it is, but I think it's something that you start to see changes quickly. It's like when you take on a new workout routine, and that becomes motivating and that becomes inspiring, and it's the proof that you're onto something that's working for you. So I like seeing people kind of take charge of their diet, because there's a lot of things that we are intentionally, I think, kept in the dark on.
Mm, amazing. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like what's coming, available, especially us living in California, New York, all the places and restaurants that are opening up, and documentaries coming out, and just people just being more aware. Again, I'm really fascinated and delighted to hear how you make things work for yourself, and I think by doing so, you in one way or another give permission to other people to do the same, as strange as that sounds, because we all look to each other for inspiration and see what works. So I'm really glad again, and I acknowledge you for trying things, to see what works for you in your lifestyle.
Well, I think, people get stuck and they feel, whether it's that they feel comfortable or that they feel they put too much time into something. It's with anything, a relationship, a job, a workout, a diet. You know, you have one life and you are fully in charge of it. So if something's not working for you, if you're not 100% happy, just make the decision to change something. I don't think it has to be so hard or so overwhelming or so scary. And so that's kind of always been my approach. It's, give yourself permission to take a chance, and the worst that happens, I don't know, maybe it doesn't work out for you, but you're probably going to figure something out. And the trial and error along the way will show you a lot about yourself. And I think people end up feeling, whether you earn something or whether you really learn something about yourself, like it's all part of the process. And I think it's important for people to acknowledge that.
Absolutely. Amazing. So, before we end the call, I wanted to see if there's anything that maybe you wanted to talk about that I didn't have a chance to bring up or ask you in relation to food, nutrition, tips.
I'm trying to think. I mean, I guess I would say that all of this should be mostly fun. What you eat, what you do for movement, for activity should be something that you look forward to. And if you dread something like that, if you dread, whether it's getting up and going to the gym or whether it's going for a run or whether it's eating something that you prepared for yourself, that's something that makes you feel crappy and that doesn't inspire you, and that's probably a sign that you need to reevaluate. And I think that it's just such an exciting time for both food and fitness right now. There's so much out there, and it's, again, like, it's a very cool movement to be a part of, to be taking part in. So it should all be fun.
Let's make it fun. Awesome. Thank you, Jaclyn. Much appreciated.
You're welcome. Thank you guys.